right, hello and welcome. My name is Shing Chung, and I am the Film Lab's 72-hour shootout coordinator. Film Lab is a nonprofit that has been working to create racial and gender parity in the entertainment media since 1998. Today, I have the privilege of speaking with the director of The Paper Tigers, Bao Tran. Please introduce yourself and give your position on the Paper Tiger film.
Hello all, thanks for having me. I'm Bao Tran, I'm the writer-director of The Paper Tigers.
And wow, okay, so you basically wrote the film and directed it as well, right?
That's right.
Okay. So what was the inspiration for the film?
The inspiration of the film, just to kind of give a summary of the story, it's about these three out-of-shape Kung Fu masters or Kung Fu classmates who grew up and trained together under the constant and watchful eye of their Sifu, their master.
Right.
But they grew up and they kind of grow their separate ways, and they grow apart, and they find out that their master is killed, and they have to get back together and find out what happened and avenge his death. But now they have kids, they have jobs, they have lives. So it's kind of this intersection of this action comedy and conflict of these loyalties that these characters kind of go through. So the inspiration is it kind of essentially that kind of the idea of whether we had these values that we had growing up that we believed in, and maybe have grown older and cynical with age, and whether those
Right.
values are still important or not, and
Right.
whether that's something we want to pass on to our kids. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of the story of just wanting to find something that was basically about these characters who find their roots again.
Got it. Okay. Wow. I mean, it is a very interesting plot line. Yeah, I've yet to see the film, but I've checked out your IMDb. I don't think I can get it from anywhere right now as of now, right? Unless I go to the film festival.
No, it's actually streaming. It's all on Apple iTunes
Apple
and
iTunes, okay.
Amazon, also on Netflix for USA and Canada. We're on Blu-ray and DVD. We're all out there.
Nice. That's great. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what was the early production process like?
The earliest part in terms of the development, script development was, it took basically about 10 years as a whole to get from start to finish to get to where
Wow.
we are today, essentially. So 10 years ago, I set out to start writing the script. I was working at the same time as an editor. So I was writing and kind of juggling the two different jobs for us. So the script kind of took a while, maybe about a year or 2 years to actually kind of polish and get together. And then we started packaging and trying to figure out how to raise money for it. So the
Uh-huh.
biggest portion of those 10 years was raising the money.
Okay. And what were some difficulties in you raising the money for a film um, that is about the story and with these characters?
Well, keep in mind this was well before Crazy Rich Asians or Black Panther, and
Uh-huh.
this story,
Uh-huh.
like I said, is about these three musketeers. We like to call them three tigers. They're Asian American and Black American, so it's a multicultural and it's a very diverse lead cast. And so we were very adamant about having this type of characters and the right actors for that role. So there was a lot of interest when we started pitching this to Hollywood and LA, that they loved the idea, but they wanted to change the cast, the lead cast, to be white, and they
Mm,
wanted to have more bankable stars. In other words, it kind of opens the door to have more bankable movie stars that they can put
right.
in. But for us, the story was so important to have it that, like I said, it's kind of based on our inspirations in childhood, practicing martial arts, and also Chinatown culture. Uh, so it just didn't feel like it was the right move to make. So we said thank you, but no thank you, and went to Kickstarter, which is a whole challenge in itself. If you've ever done a Kickstarter, it's very stressful, 35 days. You never know if you're going to be able to get the money or not. And
Right.
then we actually raised, additional money on the private side. And so that was the biggest challenge, just being able to kind of like raise the money, but also find the right people that could believe in you and support you.
Wow. Yeah, I can imagine the difficulty you had to go through and the struggles that was in setting in deciding that the casting had to be what you wanted them to be and not be influenced by the industry. So having gone through that, what was the most rewarding moment in all of the time that you worked on this film?
Mm. The you making movies, you get many, many small rewards. I think when we started to see our cast come together and see how well they started gelling together, that was really fun to watch, because I think we got really excited about what the movie could be, and what the actors were bringing to the table, and it just felt like we were made the right choice. Like I said, if we had gone or changed the cast, to differently, we would never have been able to have our great actors in our film and be able to work together. So it was just really fun to see them work and actually enjoy each other's company and like each other, and just the creativity from actually doing the shooting. It was tough. It was grueling, yes, but it was also very promising. We were just knew that we were doing something that the world was ready to see. So I think we all had that excitement in the air. And also during post production, same thing. We were just felt like things were getting better, and as the process of polishing the film, it kept getting improving, and feeling tighter for us. So we were really excited to kind of put out into the world. And then of course the next satisfaction is to be able to see it with a crowd. Obviously with COVID, we had a virtual film festival run last year, so it was a little disconnected. But we had a theatrical release in May, which was a great opportunity for us to actually be able to see this in theaters, see this with people, see this on a big screen with big sound, with the experience that we kind of intended to make it in the first place with.
And what does this movie say about Asians and Asian Americans and contemporary cinema and beyond? I imagine that you kind of wrote the movie with that in mind, and you want the audience to see it in that way as well, you know?
Well, I guess I'll let the audience kind of figure out and decide, what exactly all that means. I think for us, we wanted to set out to make a movie that was had a story and experience that was true to what we knew and we grew up with, warts and all. We weren't interested in trying to show the perfect, ideal Asian model minority, but also we need to show all the dimensions of what Asian American experience is, but also Asian American experience with Black American experience, because I think that's really, really important to kind of speak to honestly in terms of what we have in terms of growing up here in America. So the best that we could do is just be able to speak as truthfully as we could, and hope the audience and everyone else kind of can resonate with that and see also, yes, that lines up with what I see and feel. And so that's kind of what we had always hoped to set out for.
I think having like Asian Americans and Asian actors in your movies as the producer, actors, and director I think it offers a lot of insights into a film such as this. Um, I wanted to ask you, what was your experience? What got you started in film in the first place?
I started as, I grew up in a bicultural household. I'm the first in my family to be born in America. I'm Vietnamese by ethnicity, and I grew up with different types of entertainment. At home we'd watch Asian movies and Hong Kong movies and TVB shows and Vietnamese language shows and all those things. And in the movie theaters, out in the world, you go see Steven Spielberg and you see James Cameron and you see kind of what Hollywood kind of had to offer. So I grew up with all this type of entertainment and different styles and different tastes that I kind of thought was all natural. It's just kind of like the way you would be at home eating Asian food and then going out eating pizza and hamburgers. It's kind of the same thing that way you love it all. So for me, that is kind of the formative experience in terms of understanding, what movies and entertainment means. But also, with Jackie Chan was, a huge influence in terms of inspiring me to want to figure out how to make movies, and especially action movies.
That's wow. Jackie Chan is a very big inspiration for us all. What were some personal or societal or industry barriers that you had to go through in your career up to this point?
Yeah, I mean, personal is probably the most clear one. Obviously, with I'm not from a show business family. I'm not entertainment. Our family is, very, what do you say, worker bees and working class. So we, for me to want to be able to do entertainment or go into movies was kind of a new and different notion. And so there was a lot of apprehension. There was a lot of fear about how this would turn out. And they, they saw me work hard and they saw me really dedicate myself to the craft, and so they are my biggest supporters now. So that's always kind of the conversation that switched for Asian American generation to want to go into entertainment. You don't often have a lot of resources, to help support you, like I said. So if I wanted to be a doctor or a pharmacist or a lawyer, my family could make some phone calls and ask around and, introduce us to and figure out what the best school to go to. So there's that path. But to go into entertainment, suddenly there's not a lot of ways to help. So I think that's kind of like a lot of anxiety that comes around that. And I guess for professionally, there is kind of that challenge, like we said, that we dealt with casting and figuring out, what the stories kind of matter. It's a very difficult thing, especially when we talk about mainstream, to get funding or to get financing for stories that are maybe centered on people of color or centered on Asian American experience more specifically. And so it's difficult to have that type of interest. There's a lot of interest now with diversity and whatnot that's in right now. And then we have to figure out what it means to have all that means in diversity, but also be able to tell the stories from our perspective and find the right supporters to do so.
Thank you for answering that, because you addressed one of my questions, which is what are some tips that you would like to give to filmmakers, especially Asian American filmmakers, trying to break into the industries these days and maybe not having the confidence to do so? Yeah.
It's a hard thing to say. I think if you want to do it, you're going to do it. I think for me, I'm a bit stubborn, and I'm a little bit, if I set my mind to do something, I really want to make sure that it happens. And so a lot of that willpower and that sense of inspiration has to really come from you. And it really has to be innate. And you really can't create it. You either have and fall in love with the art and fall in love with the craft, and that will push you and motivate you, or you just want to be able to kind of like aspire to something. And so a lot of that things really have to come from each person. And because I think it cuts both ways, because I can give you great advice, but what if I told you that you shouldn't do it or you should stop doing it? Maybe that's not good advice either. Something about you wants to do something regardless of whatever anybody else says. You kind of need that type of willpower.
Thank you so much. I mean, that's very well said. Yeah. One last question. If you were to give one last message to your fans or filmmakers or just movie fans out there, anybody, what would it be?
Please support our film. I think we're the independent film and we need as much support as we can. We don't have big budgets like Marvel and DC. So it's all word of mouth. So if you can check out the film, rent it, purchase it, that helps us the most. If you love it, please talk about it, share it with your friends. We are on Netflix, so that's kind of an easy enough thing to do. But obviously, if you can help support it financially, that's a huge thing as well.
Thank you so much, Bao Tran. My name is Shing Chung, and this is Bao Tran, the director of the Paper Tigers. You can see his posters on the wall. You said that it's streaming on Netflix and I believe iTunes and also Amazon, right?
All the good stuff, yeah. All
the
the
good.
Bluetooth and all the major platforms, you can be able to find it on Blu-ray and DVD as well.
Great. Yeah. Thank you so much for this interview.
Thank you.